The middle class is done for. It's a wrap. And I think it's been a wrap for quite some time. But I do think it's gotten even to the point to where it's becoming even more blatantly obvious. And you gotta just accept that, own it, and know that there's nothing that can be done that can fix that. And you really got to figure out what side of the equation you want to be on. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment and share. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's just there's no more. I don't know what else to say. It's where we're at now. I think is a pivotal point in history, and I think that everyone needs to make a decision. What do you want to be? Um, and you could feel any kind of way about it. You could be upset, you could be mad. Those are all normal feelings to have, but the reality of it is that you have to make a choice, and with every choice you got to be willing to buck up and do the work. Because reality, you could cry all you want about it, it's not going to change anything. And we live in America. We live in a country that is built on capitalism. Hate it or love it. I understand the problems with capitalism. And I also understand the rewards of capitalism. But the one thing that is a constant, and I think we have to be intellectually honest, and we have to be honest, just be honest about it and say, like, it requires the less fortunate to build some prosperity, and that's just the way the game works. And you have to decide whether you want to be a part, the server, or the one being served. And that's a shitty way to look at it, but I want to be honest, and it's just a fact. I made a video not too long ago saying having the good job sucks, because we can no longer be expected to just be able to go to one job and have that job, and that's it. Nothing outside of it, nothing else going on, just that one job, and hopefully that job is enough to provide for your family, pay your bills, whatever things come up, maybe a vacation every now and again, college. One job is not going to cut it. And you need some other horses, you know what I mean, to be pulling in the same direction. That's why most people, I talk to a lot of people just because of the line of work that I do in property management, but it seems to be like most people have a job and then they have their couple side gigs. Maybe they own some property here and there, and you got other things going. And that's the norm. We need to normalize that. If it's not already, maybe I'm late to the party, but we need to normalize it, because I also hear people complaining about maybe they just don't want to do that, or they're not comfortable with the change, but change is coming regardless whether you like it or not. And in fact, you sprinkle in AI in there, and then you're like, oh man, now you really, really got to hustle up, because that window to be able to is closing. I don't know that and this isn't meant to like be a doomsday post or anything like that, but I do think you need to realize the weight of it and how harder it will be to get on top of that once we really see the capabilities of AI. And it's just something we have to accept, and it's very unfortunate, because I don't consider myself to be anywhere or any ahead of anyone else, but I'm looking back, and people who I used to hang out with or whatnot, and people I know just seem to be in even worse conditions, and I'm like, man, even on some family members, you see me in worse conditions, and it's like, I don't know how else you try and help them, or it's really, and it pains me to say this, it's a gladiator sport and it's sometimes a solo mission. Now, I do believe that if you get into a situation where you have group economics, and let's say you're with a family and y'all could all work it out and everyone pitch in and you guys have a collective dream and a collective goal, you know, I think that is an awesome way to do that. But you know, sometimes here in the US, we tend to be individualistic about things, you know, especially when it comes to material things and having all these things. But if you're in a family and you don't force your kids out right away, maybe let them stay a little longer, if not until they are really can fly on their own. And I know, again, a lot of people will disagree with that probably, but I don't know. The more I think about it, I think I'm going to let my kids kind of, you know, hang out until they can figure it out. And of course, I'm going to help them and aid them to where they can, you know, when they do leave, they are confident in their abilities and confident in knowing what they're going to go do, because it's just hard. It is hard, especially when you're trying to build something from ground up and that's never been done in your family, and you're the first person to break through or to even attempt to break through. That is some extra added weight there. Not because necessarily family. I mean, it can be, but you know, you could say no, and that's a skill too. Learning how to say no is a skill for sure. But the burden can come from sometimes just, you know, you having to carry that load, and that's really the reality of it. But we're at the point now where you don't have a choice. You can't just expect to do little and get a lot. You know, you now have to do a lot to get something, you know. And I think making that decision over time, I think you really get to eat off the fruit of those trees. And again, it takes time. I think the average person can, and I'm just meaning the person who works a 9 to 5, nothing special, can be financially free in a minimum at least 10 years. But it's going to take time, maybe 15 now, but it's going to take time in whatever it is you're doing to gain mastery over it. I personally like real estate. I personally think everyone should at least have that, a percentage of that in your portfolio. It doesn't all have to be in that way, but real estate, stock market, you know, and if you have it in you to try your hand at a business, a profitable one, do that. I know something I'm going to look at amongst real estate and all this thing is laundromats. I'm curious about it. Again, it's just a thought, but I'm like, hey, what could it hurt? You know, let's just really do some research on it and figure out. Obviously, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking maybe a densely populated area, this could be great. You know what I mean? So things like that I'm constantly thinking about. But I don't know, I just made this video to say that accept the hard road, and let's just get down and let's get it done. I'm one of those people that if I know I have a task in front of me or something up and coming, I want to just get it done as quickly as possible so that I can not have to do it anymore, if that makes sense. So hopefully this will help you take that leap or take that jump, and you can just get going on your journey now, as opposed to waiting and never really taking action. Because again, we're at a crossroads and the middle class is a wrap. You know, and you have your upper middle class. You know, I think that's a lot of people from middle class maybe went to upper class. Nonetheless, your middle class has eroded. So you're either rich or poor at this point. And that if you're in the middle, that could be super uncomfortable. And I think a lot of us are falling in the middle. You know, I'm somewhere in that middle, trying to fight my way, throw elbows to get out of it. So anyway, it's not easy. It's hard, but I think it's definitely doable still. And that window is closing. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Hopefully this is helpful to you and gave you some motivation that it is possible. Just get a plan and stick to it. All right, take care. Bye.